Yeah, I want to make a few more comments that have been stimulated by the comments here. I haven't fully developed this, but there was an article that I just read the other day, very interesting, looking at who are Trump supporters and what is their background and so forth. And one of the things that have been found is that Trump supporters, a good percentage of them, are very fearful of change. And so part of feeding off of the things that the other commentators have, they're fearful of the demographic changes that are happening in the United States, any kind of environmental regulations and so forth. And that fearful of change manifests itself in looking for a strong man who has the appearance, there's a lot of similarities, I don't want to go too far on this, but a lot of similarities to the 1930s in Germany. Where there's
he's retweeted Mussolini quotes. It's okay.
All right. There is what I think something to fear about, particularly the Trump connection here, in that a lot of the Trump supporters are from rural counties where there's been a lot of change, where the economy is not doing particularly well, and so forth, and they need to blame somebody on it, and they're looking for a strong man to come in and take charge, and Donald Trump seems to be their man for that kind of policies. And so there is a connection here with all these other right-wing extremist groups, I think, and what is happening in a lot of the rural counties. I want to point out that as mentioned before, even though there were a lot of people that said they didn't agree with the armed takeover of the refuge, there's still a lot of people in those areas that agree with the basic complaints that the federal government has no authority or is overreaching and so forth. And one of my fears to keep in mind is you're going to see, I think, BLM and Forest Service employees afraid to enact and enforce environmental regulations of anything, because they're never going to know whether somebody's going to show up at their house with a gun threatening their lives at this point. I think it's going to have a significant effect on policy enforcements around the West, particularly people that have to live in towns like Burns or Chalice, Idaho, or whatever. So be aware of that this is going to have, I think, effect for long term on how public lands are managed. And so even if we still manage to hang on to the public lands, we may in fact not have as much control of them. They'll still be more controlled by locals. And I want to tell one story. I used to work for the BLM, and one of the first things that I was charged doing was evaluating an ACEC, an area of environmental concern recommendation. And I came in with my report to my superior, and a couple of weeks later he called me in his office and said, "You did a great job," but he had redrawn the boundaries of this proposal to exclude some bunch grass uplands that were above a canyon. And I said, well, this is a really significant area because it's never been grazed. And I said, we should really keep it in the ACEC. And he said, well, if the ranchers see that there's grass there included in this, they're going to talk to the state director and he'll be opposed to it. So we're better off drawing the boundaries to the canyon rim and excluding the grass. But there's no water there. They can't even, there's no way they can graze it. He said, oh, but they'll think they'll get a pipeline someday. And I just mentioned that story because it had a big effect on me to make me realize that a lot of what actually comes out to the public as the official recommendation of an agency is already often compromised and has sidebars on what, as an employee, you're allowed to propose or say. And I think that's going to be even worse in the future here as a result of this threats that are implied across the West right now.
High Country News has done some great reporting on the threats against BLM and Forest Service agents over the last years or two.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult.
High Country News.
Very difficult to live in these rural communities, and you want to be part of the community. You want to feel like you can go to the soccer game with your kids or whatever. But so there's a strong tendency to wanting not rock the boat very much, and I think that tendency is going to be accentuated even more now. So with that, we'll open it up to questions. All right, Pam.
All right. First of all, I would like to say, I think your prediction that Forest Service employees and BLM employees are going to be intimidated is spot on. I do a lot of work in both Harney County and Grant County, where Glenn Palmer is sheriff, and have seen some of this firsthand. And after the Bundy thing happened, I know that at least one of the stories, rumors, like the kind of conversation you only get when you talk to people who actually live there, is that several Forest Service employees have put in for transfers because they're not feeling safe. And I think you're exactly right that one of the things that's going to happen is that we're going to start to see those changes. What I wanted to know from you guys who actually study this stuff, I don't study this stuff, I just like hang out there, which seems a little dangerous at this point. But I was wondering from you guys what you have observed in terms of the people like this turning their sights against environmentalists in particular.
Well, we're seeing that more and more. We're seeing these groups